Alrighty, welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. We have a bunch of basketball again this week. We are edging up to Milwaukee Brewer season. We got about 2 more weeks until we are ripping and rearing for opening day. But in the meantime, keep an eye out on our page. We are publishing new stat projections every single day from now all the way up until opening day. We're going to have some other content that we're going to mix in there as well. So keep an eye out for that. Other than that, let's hit the intro and we'll start with Badgers.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Alrighty, so we are back to talk about the Badgers. Now, the Badgers had a split week in the last week to end their regular season. They beat Minnesota and they lost to Penn State, so we're going to recap both of those. Let's start with the Minnesota game. And, Mike, I'll let you start with the guards. How did you feel about the guards in the Minnesota game from last week?
Yeah, so it was very interesting, right? You're coming off of a tough loss to Michigan State, and then you got to follow it up with going to your rival on senior day at Minnesota, right? So you keep a couple of those things in mind going into it. Stating the obvious, first off, we definitely missed Max in this game. I don't think there's nobody can deny that at this point. I'm gonna talk about that further. But just getting into it, Kamari McGee, a little bit of a quiet night scoring wise, unfortunately, but he had 0 point. He played 33 minutes. 0 points, but he did have a career high with five assists, so he was able to dish the ball out a little bit and did have 1 rebound. But for the player of the game, from my perspective, and from the guard position was Jack Janicki. I think he had 6 of the most crucial points in this game. I think you could almost argue this entire season with the way this game was going. It was pretty much a rock fight. The Badgers are 2-5 when we don't even score 74 points in the game. So that right there, it's a little questionable given what the final score was. But no, Jack Janicki was fantastic, especially in that second half. He played 22 minutes, 6 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. One of the biggest plays of the day was when we were down 53-51 with the shot clock winding down, and he had somewhat of an acrobatic finish with the left-handed layup to tie the game up. And with about 4:47 left, another shot clock situation. He had a tough fadeaway jumper. That was just ridiculously filthy, I think, on his end. For somebody who is basically the 7th or 8th man to come in and do that takes a lot of steel nuts, I would say, for sure. And when you go back into your home state to do that as well, as a walk-on, oh, man, he must have been. I mean, I think he said he had anywhere from 30 friends and family at that game. So that's pretty special to do that in front of them. So
let me throw something on Janicki really quick. Just in the last 5 minutes, that's what they call the clutch time, is the last 5 minutes. There was 8 straight points scored or assisted by Jack Janicki.
Yeah.
8 straight. Yeah.
It's insane, right? And then I think the play of the game almost just about 51 seconds remaining. Shot goes up. He flew in for an offensive rebound that led to it being tipped into John Blackwell's hands, which led to the and one, which basically put the game away. So impressive by Janicki. I'll state this again. We got to get him a Scally if he doesn't have it already. I think it's fair to say he's going to be a big part of this rotation, especially going into next year. Actually, the next 3 years, really, if we want to think about it, because he's only a redshirt freshman. So, he saved our ass, I think you could say, in this game in crucial moments. So, props to him. He was a big part of why we won this game.
I saw a lot of people complaining about Kamari McGee, and the thing is in the absence of Max Klesmit, that takes away a huge chunk of your rotation.
Yeah, so I think it's collectively, just like what you're supposed to. Yeah,
McGee is normally coming off the bench to face other bench players, and that also takes away one of your best bench players because you have to put him into your starting lineup. So obviously your bench is going to suffer because one of your best bench players is now in the starting lineup. These are things that shouldn't be hard to figure out. And the same thing with Kamari McGee, like, yes, obviously you want your guys prepared the best you can, but there's a reason that Kamari McGee's on the bench and not in the starting lineup.
I mean, if you want any more
6th man, but Max Klesmit is in the starting lineup because he does things that Kamari McGee doesn't. That's not to disparage Kamari McGee, but again, you're talking about a guy who is normally playing against bench players because he is a bench player. So it needs to be a little bit of grace in there.
He didn't turn over the ball at all either. I think that's important to point out, especially if you're, as you said, Tyler, being primarily that bench guy. I think one of your ultimate expectations is if you take care of the ball, then you are doing your job. Yes, I'll be the first to say he could definitely improve, but he's at least taking care of the ball. And again, he had his career high in assists this game. I know we expect that 10 rule that we've been talking about, and I think that is a good expectation for him. But I mean, I think it could have been a lot worse in this game in his regards. So we're moving on with the win.
Brandon said Iowa's about to go home today. Well, I think you're a dark horse to win the tournament. I will accept that as a compliment, and if you reverse jinx us, I'm going to haunt you when I die.
I don't think the Badgers should be a dark horse, man. They've been ranked pretty much the entire season.
Unless he means the March Madness tournament. The Big Ten tournament, they've beaten Big Ten teams except for Michigan State and Michigan. Like they beat.
We got a revenge. We got revenge to get, man. UCLA. We got opportunities. Don't want to think too far ahead, but God damn, we have an opportunity here.
Yeah. We'll talk about the Big Ten tournament after we get through the Penn State game, but. Looking at the Badgers' wings, the Johns, John Blackwell is so damn good when he is aggressive to the rim.
Well, apparently he's not good enough to make a all.
That's what I was just going to say. We can jump ahead to the all Big Ten teams. John Tondre, first team all Big Ten. John Blackwell made it to the honorable mention list.
What
the hell is that?
That's a fucking joke, dude.
He should have been joke. At the very least, third team, probably second team.
At the very least, third team. You see some of the people that were on the team?
At the very least, third team.
Yeah, two of the two Rutgers freshmen, I think, were on that. I'm like, dude, one of them was out half the year.
Blackwell's got better stats than like three of those guys, too.
And then the Michigan State guard, I don't remember his name, that made one of the teams. He didn't even average 10 points per game.
Yeah.
What a
Blackwell
joke.
averaged 15, 5, and 2.5.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Whatever.
That shit pissed me off.
Whatever. It is what it is. There was a point in the first half he hit Xavier Amos with a great full court pass. Second half, there was a big stretch, part of the Janicki stretch, actually. John Blackwell had a back cut for a dunk from Janicki that ended like a 2-minute scoring drought. He got to the free throw line for 2 points. He had an assist for a Stephen Crowell dunk, and then he hit a 3 after Minnesota tied the game at 46. There was a stretch where John Blackwell scored or assisted on 10 straight points. So the Badgers guards and wings had their fingerprints all over it. For John Tondre, he is so crafty around the rim with his body control.
Mm-hmm.
If he was 2 inches taller, he'd be dunking on a lot more people. But with him being, a little bit smaller, he's a little bit more, creative layup package type guy.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with this one is he was in foul trouble, and his fourth foul got sold by the defender, but you can't give the refs the opportunity to call the foul on you. So, the thing is yes, it looked like a flop. It looked like the defender sold the contact. But just putting yourself in that position to be able to be called for the foul is just something you have to be more careful of, because John Tondre, we need you on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same way about John Blackwell. Can't be in foul trouble because we need you on the floor as much as possible.
Agreed.
I'll talk about the teams as a whole in a second, but Jake, what did you feel about the bigs?
Well, I thought the bigs were pretty good. I liked Mikey's description of a rock fight. This was a slugfest here. The bigs, the three main bigs, I'm going to say Gilmore, Winter, and Crowell, they accounted for 1/3 of the team scoring. They had 25 of the 74, so basically 1/3. Just nice job by them. They were very efficient. Got some numbers for you guys. So obviously we know that the Badgers won this game, getting their record to 23-7. That is the second best 30-game mark under Greg Gard, and it's tied for the 7th best in school history. Continuing that as they beat Minnesota, that was their 9th straight victory versus Minnesota, dating back to 2020. That is the second longest winning streak versus Minnesota since they had 10 straight from 1912 to 1916. Good God.
Right after basketball was invented. Jeez.
We're doing things
Yeah.
that happened before the Great Depression, and people are not happy.
Just right after the Titanic sank.
And we plan on breaking
10
that.
off, 10
We
off
do
against
plan on
Minnesota.
breaking that.
We do.
For the
I
record.
was hoping it was going to happen tomorrow, that we would tie the record, but it is what it is. It looks like Northwestern's winning right now. We'll just wait till next year to beat up on that ass, And as far as Steven Carl goes, this was his 146th game as a Badger, which surpasses Frank Kaminsky for 5th most in team history. He also improved to 8-0 versus Minnesota. So imagine being from Minnesota, signing with the rival, and then whooping that ass every time. 8-0 versus them. Never lost.
Made the right decision, I think.
He made the right decision. I think Guard hit the nail on the head when he said that we've gotten tons of recruits from Minnesota. Obviously, that's very true. We do get a ton of recruits from the state of Minnesota. So, and most of them are big men, which is, big for our team, obviously. Something we're going to get into some interesting conversations versus Penn State when we talk about big men.
Mhm.
But overall, I thought Gilmore, Winter, and Carl did their job. They helped us win the rebounding battle. They helped us win the field goal percentage battle. They helped us win the points in the paint, second chance points, and the Badgers won the assist and free throw attempts and percentage mark in this game. So all around, this was a good, gritty win. This showed how good this Badgers team can be going on the road against a Big Ten team and earning a victory.
And that's what I think is the biggest takeaway for me is that the Badgers, they got slowed down to Minnesota's pace.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to say. Normally, that's been the Badgers' strategy over the last couple of years, is to slow the other team down to their pace. But the Badgers were slowed down by Minnesota, and to me, it resulted in two things. One, the Badgers weren't able to take advantage of mismatches as easily, which is a challenge that I will have for them going forward, is when you can get Crowell on a smaller guy, or when you can have a guard with a big man guarding him. Like if you can get a switch on a screen, you can have John Tonje with a big on him, clear out and let him drive. Or if you get Steven Crowell with a small guy on him, just put a pin in your swing offense and get the ball in the post and let's attack the mismatches. The Badgers got caught in 2 shot clock violations, which is credit to Minnesota's defense. They are a solid defensive team. As for like turnovers, the turnovers and stuff happen, but too many missed layups. Got to make your layups. That's a thing where the Badgers, I just mentioned that full court pass that John Blackwell had to Xavier Amos. It was a great pass, but Amos missed the layup, and Minnesota came down and hit a 3. That's a 5-point swing where the Badgers could have been up by 11. Instead, their lead was cut down to 6. So I'm a little bit more lenient on turnovers, especially if they're plays of effort versus just missing layups. Other than that, I did want to say also the 6 of the last 7 points of the game were scored by John Blackwell and John Tonje. So some good clutch play in this game. Even though Minnesota slowed the Badgers down, they still managed to score 74 points and beat Minnesota at their own game in their own building.
Football.
Yeah. And I think, for what it's worth, I think we once again, this is the second time in a row now, but we held, I think, Dawson Garcia somewhat in check again.
Especially
So I just want to call that out too. Yeah. I think there was times like when they did take advantages of certain matchups. Like we needed Gilly out there as much as possible, I think, just to handle that matchup. And we basically, I thought I wanted to call Carter Gilmore real quick on that.
I think I saw that Garcia was like 1 for 7 against Carter Gilmore.
Yeah, 6 of 17 overall. That's not bad. He's second team all conference guy, and I think that is legitimate. He is one of the best players in the Big Ten. Yep. So that I'm not going to argue with. Why am I giving so many compliments to my rival? I don't know, but I think we did a decent job on him.
Because you have a functioning brain, Mike. That's why.
Yeah.
It's okay to do that.
It's the best.
Not all players are trash, and your team gets to exert their will on the opponent regardless of their input. All righty, let's get this over with. Let's talk Wisconsin and Penn State. Mike, go about the guards.
Oh God. Well, I'll start with something positive before whatever. Thank you to the seniors first off in this program, since it is senior day. There's a lot of good stories on this year's team. My guy Kamari McGee, fantastic season. First guy, big spark plug off the bench, or soon to be coming back off the bench again. We got Carter Gilly James had an incredible year, which, mind you, he was a walk-on this season. I don't think a lot of Badger fans know that. So his scholarship was given up. John Tonje, Mr. All-American himself, thank you. Stephen Crowell, decent year as well. Did I forget somebody? I forget if I did. Marcus Silver. Give a props to. I'm going to give props to a guy to Marcus Silver for a second, because I think he easily could have transferred out of this program and could have went to maybe like a mid-major, or even just go ball out at like a high D2 or something like that. But it's impressive that he stuck it out with these guys, and I think that says a lot about his character. So, all right, I just wanted to give a shout out to the seniors. Now, oh boy, I'm going to start with some stats first. So, Penn State just snapped a 22-game losing streak in Madison. So that's the first call out. That's something that I wish it didn't happen to this team, but it did. Point blank, I think Penn State was way more aggressive. They were playing on a desperation mode, which, you know what? Props to them. When it's the last game of the year, you're literally not playing a single basketball game the rest of the year. And for them to come out and do that and actually give a shit, props to them. They also had 1.42 points per possession, which is which is stupid. That's stuff that we hit this year during the season, right? So you're gonna win ball games when you do that. As far as the players, I mean, Kamari McGee had a solid start to this game. I thought the way he was shooting, I thought he was gonna get 25 and 5 or something like that. But no, I mean, still 26 minutes, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. Unfortunately, he did hit that 10-point mark that we love to talk about, but it wasn't necessarily a victory. But he did okay, I guess. But Jack Janicki not a whole lot, didn't really score, but he got 23 minutes, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. He still contributed a little bit for being a bench player. And Cameron Hunter got into this game, which 6 minutes, didn't really do much. He had 1 turnover and 1 missed 3 ball. I do question that a little bit. I get it that when there's no Max Klesman, you have to improvise a little bit. Kind of questioning a little where Daniel Freitag is at with his game right now at this point that they do that, because between us, I did get a little frustrated when he was out there at the time. I'm like, okay, well, if he's showing this, what are the chances that Daniel Freitag could be worse, right? So I was hoping maybe he would have gotten a little bit of time, because I think Cameron Hunter, he was hurt most of the year too. He was sick half the year, so he just might not have his legs under him quite yet. Which it is what it is. But that's going to be a position that we need to watch, I think, going into this offseason. Are you going to rely on Cameron Hunter and Daniel Freitag to get the job done, or are we going to be bringing in somebody from the portal? Which also, it would not surprise me one bit, given the current status. But
I think there's something to say for being in rhythm and stuff like that for a guy like Hunter too, for having such sporadic playing time. I get there not being a rhythm where you're not feeling like, okay, I'm used to playing 10 minutes a game in this type of role. So I understand that part of it. And I think the same would go for Freitag, but I think those two over the summer are going to have a lot of eyes on them, and as far as the program is concerned.
Oh, for sure. And then I guess to bring everything all together, I mean, I'm going to state the obvious: we need everybody back. We need everybody back healthy going into postseason play. Max Klesman, I touched base. I talked about it last week. He's the lead assist man for this team. Yep. I think clearly. I'll even put in the Minnesota game and Michigan State if we want to put it in a bundle.
Yep.
They clearly need his facilitating. I think it's without a doubt. I know in previous weeks I've talked about, okay, maybe give Kamari McGee a little more playing time and maybe cut Max's minutes. But make no mistake, the Batters still need him. We need him in this lineup for sure if we're going to be successful.
Average of a game, but if it's say 27, we're talking about giving 4 or 5 minutes to Kamari McGee.
And that's a lot.
Use 20 to 25 minutes of Max Klesman.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there's any conclusion I can come up from this, Max Klesman's a huge part of this team. And then you kind of foresee it again, being the lead assist man, the lead facilitator of this team. it spoke volumes of how much they missed him. So happy to see he's going to be back for us playing tomorrow. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I'll let you guys go ahead.
So looking at the Johns, John Blackwell was absolutely locked in defensively in the first half of this game. I think that was a big catalyst for the Badgers getting their lead. Both John Blackwell and John Tonje hit threes early in this game. Blackwell did finish 3 for 6 from the three-point line, which is great. 6 of 15 overall is a little rough. He finished with 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and only had 1 turnover. So overall, his stat line looks nice. I just would like to see that field goal percentage tick up a little bit. As for John Tonje, he finished 2 of 13 from the field, 2 of 7 from the three-point line, 7 for 8 from the free throw line, which is good. This is his second bad shooting game in the last 3 games. Hopefully it's like a get it out of your system type thing, and he can bounce back for the Big Ten tournament and for the big dance. I will say John Tonje was the only player to shoot free throws in the first half for the Badgers. That's rough. Just need the whole team to be a little bit more aggressive. And then, I saw people complaining about Tonje, and I understand he's having bad games, but the bottom line is the Badgers absolutely need John Tonje. He's first 10 all Big Ten for a reason. If the Badgers have hope of making any noise in the Big Ten tournament and in March Madness, John Tonje is going to have to be a large part of that. I'm going to hold off on most of the rest of the other things just strictly because it's all a little bit more team specific. But one thing I will say just specifically on Tonje, when we are getting into late game situations and the offense is becoming stagnant, something that's happened a few times this season, I would like to see the Badgers playing through John Tonje. There's been a couple games this year where there's like the last 10 minutes of the game go awry, and the ball is only touching John Tonje's hands 2 or 3 times in that final 10 minutes. And I just mentioned 7 for 8 from the free throw line, the only guy to shoot free throws in the first half. Get the ball into Tonje's hands when we need offense and let him get to the free throw line at the very least. So I understand it's not practical to have 2 different offenses installed. Like the Badgers run the swing offense. It's what they run. But I would like to see some sort of pick and roll, pick and pop with some off-ball screening involved to let John Tonje cook a little bit and go get us a bucket when we need one. I'll hold off the rest of my stuff because it's team specific. But Jake, what did you think about the bigs?
Yeah, I have some thoughts on the Tonje thing if I could real quick.
No,
it felt like when Penn State went to the zone.
Yeah.
It felt like Tonje kind of took himself out of the game at that point. And Blackwell was the one that was really going downhill, trying to attack, make stuff happen. Now, that's credit to Blackwell, and I'm not trying to beat up on Tonje, but on a day where the offense is kind of, teetering, and I'll switch over to the big men real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Crowell was absolutely frying the center from Penn State one-on-one.
In the high post, he was money.
I'm going to say this before I continue. Post defense is a lost art.
Valid. That's valid.
Mm-hmm.
That guy he's a modern big man. Can block shots. He runs the floor, catches lobs. Good job. Good for him. I'm happy for him. He's going to be a good player in the Big Ten if he sticks with Penn State. Or, we're going to have an open spot at center. You can come on over. The transfer portal, I really hope the Badgers go and get 2 7-footers. Because as soon as Nolan Winter went down in this game, size was a problem. And that is the second time that has happened in the last couple of games where when Nolan Winter went down, and I don't mean any disrespect to Gilmore. If you guys have watched this show at all, I love me some Gilly James. He's small. It is what it is. He is literally, if you looked at there was a photo that the Badgers posted for Senior Day, he literally might be the same size or shorter than John Tonje. And if he's taller, it's because his hair is tall.
Yeah. I think he's listed
6'7" maybe.
But
yeah.
Winter is 6'11" and Crowell is 7 feet. Like that's a 4 and 5.
I mean, it's close. He can compete, and he does. He plays hard. I love him for that. Just my little piece on Gilmore is there was a couple times where I saw him kind of pass up some shots. He's not trusting his jump shot right now. So he needs to start trusting the jumper a little bit more, start knocking some of those down. That'll open the offense back up again, as the Badgers have kind of the offense has kind of sputtered down the stretch here. And that goes to my point again about Nolan Winter, a guy who has been knocking down big shots, taking big time 3-pointers. We saw it against Michigan State. We made 5 threes. He made 2 of them, and he wasn't afraid. He wasn't gun shy. You see it against Minnesota. Yes, he only took 1 3-pointer, but he's not afraid to shoot. You saw the same thing early in this game. Nolan Winter was 3 for 4, 1 for 1 from deep. He looked like he was about to cook. I mean, Mike was talking earlier about Cam. I thought Nolan Winter was about to have a career day the way that he was looking early on. Had the nice tip slam, and then I don't know, something happened in the shoulder, elbow, stinger. I don't know.
Yeah, hold something.
He was just kind of holding everything, and when they do the shake and it doesn't go off, not a good sign usually.
He came back with like a long sleeve compression shirt on.
Yeah, tried to give it a go. I respect him for it, but just it is what it is. It sounds everything I was reading today. It sounds like him and Max are going to be back tomorrow, so that's a good thing for us.
Yep.
The thing that I wanted to talk about the offense, I'm gonna get into some team specific stuff real quick. Just say my little piece.
Yeah.
I'll hand it over. Steven Crowell. I want Steven Crowell to be the guy that's at the top in the zone.
Yeah.
And I want Steven Crowell to turn around and shoot the fucking 15-footer.
Thank you.
Fucking shoot the goddamn 15-footer,
or at
dude.
least act like you want to.
You're literally a good free throw shooter.
Yes.
Literally grab the ball where they're not going to guard you, or they're going to have a tiny dude on you and rise up and shoot it.
Yeah.
I gave a stat about how he passed Kaminsky for the fifth most games played. I promise you, there was a reason they didn't play zone against Frank Kaminsky. He would have had 50 just from middies. He would have fried you.
Yeah.
Crowell, you did an awesome job in the post. You have good footwork. You have nice touch outside. Literally just grab the ball at the free throw line and shoot it.
Yeah.
Grab the ball at any elbow.
Wouldn't shock me. He's capable of dropping 30. Yeah. He's capable.
I'm like, dude, it's not that difficult. I don't understand why zone offense, which apparently is a lost art for the Badgers right now, because every time teams play zone against us, we forget how to play with the orange ball. But I don't know what's going on.
2 out of 5 guys can handle it. The other guys are kind of just standing and watching.
Yes.
One, like I said before, Tanjay needs to get his head out of his ASS and go downhill. You're going to fall down, but you know what? You're going to end up at the charity stripe, and you're really good from that area. And 2, Steven Crowell needs to grab the ball at the mid-range.
You have to keep the ball moving, whether it's a pass or a dribble. You have to keep the ball moving. You can't hold on to the ball in the zone. All that does is give 4 guys a chance to rest on defense.
Yeah. And I understand what they're trying to do by throwing it down in the post and getting a double and then see if they could swing the ball fast enough to get a mismatch. If that doesn't work, you got to go to number 2, and that's just shooting.
You got to go to the high post.
Put a guy like Amos in.
Yeah.
And let him shoot the mid-range.
And
really not that difficult to figure out.
And then you have to – knowing how to screen the zone is another lost art, because they did it for Janicki, I think, once, where they were able to screen the far wingman, and then Janicki was able to come, and he was wide open in the corner.
Yeah.
Those are the types of looks you can get, but you have to have somebody in the short corner when the ball's on the far side, and then as it's swinging back around, that short corner guy needs to set a screen for your baseline runner, and he's going to be wide open in the corner. Yeah. Run that with Janicki, run it with Kamari McGee, run it with Tanjay, have your guy running sideline to sideline, and just have somebody in the short corner ready to set a screen on that wing defender in the bottom of the 2-3. You will have wide open corner threes for days.
We have 2 pretty good guys in this team that are good at corner threes, I thought, right?
Yeah, at least 2.
Well, then why are we running that for them?
That's what I'm telling you right now.
I was getting so frustrated at this damn game. The zone offense was just like, oh, God. You guys literally forget what you just did the last 30 games.
Yeah.
It was frustrating. But, yeah, that's my piece. Crowell just grabbed the ball at mid-range, dude. I watched the whole second half, and I was like, bruh, what are we doing?
And he's a good passer too. So as soon as you make 1 or 2 of those, that middle defender is going to start stepping up.
I feel good with Crowell in the middle of the zone. It doesn't have to be exactly at 15 feet. It could be anywhere from 10 to like 17 feet. That's yours now.
Yeah.
They're giving you that. They're literally saying, you can shoot this.
Yep. And like I said, once you make 1 or 2, the middle defender that's standing in the restricted circle is going to step 2 steps up. Nolan Winter, all he has to do is cut from the short corner. Carlo's a good passer. I trust him to make the pass too.
Right. You know what? Now that I'm thinking out loud, I'm kind of just walking myself into more ideas here. Why not just have I'm sorry, that was just total ADHD. Why not just have Tanjay run the middle right there? Then you force him to be aggressive. You force him to take shots. If he wants to drive with the one-on-one, you have Carl on the opposite block. Why not just have Tanjay run that middle? It forces him to be aggressive and shoot when he wasn't, and he wasn't shooting.
The only thing I say that might not work with that is because if you have Tanjay in there, with him being the same size as the top two defenders, you can't make that like over the top pass that a big man can go up and get and keep the back defender from swatting it out of the hands.
Right.
That's the thing I would say that might not work with that.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting idea. You just have to be able to make a bounce pass to it, I guess.
Yeah. The entry would be a little more difficult, but it would put a lot of pressure on the defense if he gets the ball in the middle of the floor, you know, and you're spread out. You know, if you have the right spacing, I could see it working.
Yeah. Don't mind us talking X's and O's ideas. You know.
No, it's great.
Yeah. For me, looking at it, this season has been what I would say is a revelation and a revolution for the Badgers offense.
Yeah.
You know, there's still people that don't like Greg Gard. It is what it is. It's just going to be people that don't want to admit that Gard has done good things for this program, including bringing guys to the coaching staff that have helped with this revolution that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, I'd like to see that happen on the defensive side of the ball as well. For the rest of this season, my challenge to Greg Gard is in the Big Ten tournament and in the Big Dance is to devise some sort of defensive strategy for getting opposing big man off their games when they start to take over. I like what the Badgers do on defense overall. I love the big men having the high hedges from like the lane lines extended. That's great. It makes it harder for guards to get like pull up threes off of screens. That's a great start. But we've seen the Oregon game and the Penn State game, double-digit leads evaporate because of the play of big men.
Yeah.
So my challenge to Greg Gard would be whether it's doubling down, whether it's fronting the post and having a weak side help defender, something like that, something to get opposing big men off of their games when they start getting in rhythm.
Yeah.
So that said, anything else you guys want to say on the Penn State game?
No, please no.
Yeah. Okay. So the opportunity to move on starts tomorrow. Northwestern did defeat Minnesota today. So the Badgers at approximately 1:30 tomorrow. It's like 25 minutes after the previous game ends or whatever. But it's going to be around 1:30. We'll play Northwestern. If they win, they will play Friday at the same time. And if they win, they will play at noon on Saturday. And if they win that, the championship for the Big Ten is Sunday at 2:30. That said, as far as the Badgers season goes, Andrew said the Penn State game ruined my parlay and also make me feel more righteous being a Marquette fan. You know, I understand the role that sports betting plays in, you know, the entertainment value of sports, but I think that there is a big need for a shift in perspective of how people let it affect their perception of games. Like I promise you, and I'm not saying this is you, Andrew, but just because you brought it up, that's the can of worms that's being opened. These players, regardless of college, what sport they are, professional, does not matter. These people do not give a shit about your sports bets. Sorry. And like I said, Andrew, I'm not singling you out to say that that's how you are, but there are way too many people who get pissed because of something that happened in a game that ruined their sports bet. Like their performance, it's not on them.
Like, they're like NFL, like NFL players.
Is on you. Yeah. Like that's yeah. So again, I'm not trying to single you out for anything, Andrew, but people are letting their sports betting affect their emotions way too much.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. I'm a part of that a little bit. Not a part of that, but like I know plenty of people that will just like strictly gamble just for the entertainment factor because and they don't actually know anything much about the actual players or teams in general. Like
Yeah.
there's plenty of people out there that will literally just bet just so they have something to watch or something to do. So there's definitely that out there. I think my favorite though is like, sorry to go off topic here, but like with fantasy football, for example, and people like tweeting at the NFL guys, I do. What are you doing? You think
they don't give a shit about your fantasy football?
They're making millions of dollars. Okay, like you are literally the last person that they think about.
Yeah, and the thing is like these guys have risen to their tops of their professions, or they're playing at the highest level in college. Like they want to win more than they want to hit the over on 24.5 points. Like they don't give a shit about your bets.
Bro, do you see what some of these fantasy football names are? Do you think they give a shit about my Balzac hurts? Like, come on. They don't care about your team.
The Badgers, getting back kind of on topic.
Sorry.
That's Badgers in the Big Ten. They finished 5th in record. They were predicted to finish 12th. So I would say that's a pretty good regular season. They finished 4th in points, 7th in 3-point percentage, 1st in free throw percentage, 6th in rebounding. They were tied for 2nd lowest in turnovers. So a pretty solid basketball team that the Badgers put together for this season. So excited to see what they can do in the Big Ten tournament, and the Big Dance Selection Sunday will be obviously this coming Sunday. And then we're kicking off the tournament. So excited to see what they can do. Anything else you guys want to say on the Badgers?
Yeah, I think we have an opportunity to maybe, I saw right now, mostly we're projected to be that 4 seed, that top 4 seed. So if we can do some damage, make some noise in the Big Ten tournament, I'm hoping maybe that we could creep up to a 3 yet. Worst case scenario, I hate to say it, hopefully we don't go down. If we lose right away, I don't think we would drop all the way down to a 5. Would I be surprised? Not really, because when you're losing, I think it's going to be the 3 out of the last 5. I think the committee might take that into account. So I do think at the end of the day we are going to be a 4 seed. But if we did hypothetically we do lose tomorrow, it's not going to surprise me if we end that top spot in the 5. I hope to God we don't. There's a lot of scary good mid majors out there that I'm definitely more worried about. But I think we still have an opportunity to get that 3 seed. And if we get that 3 seed, I bet that we're going to be playing Milwaukee, right? I don't know if they would give that to us as a 4. 3 seed, I feel confident that they would. So go out and win at least 2 games, please. Bare minimum.
Sure,
that's my view.
Yeah.
I think if they, like you said, I think if they go out beat Northwestern, they'd have to play UCLA after that. I think if they win both those games, and say they lose a heartbreaker, or they win a crazy game versus Michigan State, I would be far-fetched to say that they probably guaranteed themselves a 3 seed at that point. If they beat Michigan State, they're a 3 seed for sure.
For a 3
yeah.
seed.
Yeah.
They don't even have to win the whole tournament. If they win the whole tournament, dude, they're going to be the 3 seed in Milwaukee if they win the Big Ten.
Oh, 100%. 100% they would be.
Steve said he's pumped to go 17-15 in the opening round of the tournament.
I'm happy for you too. I'm not going to be 17-15.
All righty.
Be like 10-22.
Maybe.
I just usually hope to get in the 20s in the first round. If I can get in the 20s right and get most of the big ones right, maybe a couple upsets here and there, then we're good. All righty, Mike, we will have you back next week. Hopefully we have 2 or 3 or 4 games to discuss, and then we'll be getting ready for the tournament. So we will see you next week, and go Badgers.
Yes, sir. Go Bucky. Later, fellas.
See ya. Alrighty, so now you and I get to talk about the Bucks, and we get this a little bit backwards from how we normally like it, of having bad news first, good news second. But this week we get to discuss 1 really fun basketball game, and then 3 really tight, kind of annoying basketball games, I guess is the best way to say it. So we can start with the Bucks and the Mavericks. Now, listen. I'm just going to preface this because I know it's already going to be, but it was the Mavericks. They don't have anybody healthy. We get that. I promise you, we understand that we know the Mavericks are playing depleted.
Yep.
That said, even though the reserves played essentially the entire fourth quarter, the Bucks scored a season high 137 points.
And had their largest margin of victory this year.
Touché. And the big thing that I take away from this game that is irrelevant to the opponent is being 17 of 19 from the free throw line.
Yep.
That's a big thing. That does not matter. The shorthandedness of your opponent does not affect the number of free throws you make.
Yeah.
So it's good to see the Bucks shooting well on the free throw line. I'll let you give some takeaways, and then I'll throw out the rest of the stuff that I have.
Yeah, so Dame and Giannis didn't play a single second in the fourth quarter, and Dame ended with 34, 3, and 5, and Giannis ended with 32, 15, and 4. And he played 3 quarters. He was a plus 30. Dame was a plus 28. Dame 5 of 8 from downtown. Brook Lopez 2 points, but plus 28 on the floor. That's tremendous.
No, we need our center to score more points.
Yeah.
He took one shot and he made it.
Yeah, and then he just played defense. Kuzma 17 points. He was plus 14. Taurean Prince, he was 1 for 6 and 1 for 5 from the field, but he was still plus 27.
Yep.
Overall, the starters.
The same things written down in our notes apparently this week.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. The starters together all scored 60, or they shot 65% from the field. So that's just outstanding numbers right there. AJ Green, 18 points, 6 of 9 from downtown. He was very good, 6 of 9 overall. I should just say 6 of 9 overall because he barely takes a 2. I'll just note next time that next time he takes a 2-pointer, that's when I write it down. Gotta give a shout out.
30 minutes too.
What's that?
He was the only player that played over 30 minutes in this game too.
Yep,
he was just shy of 31 minutes. He was the only guy over 30.
Yeah, he was. Kevin Porter Jr., 10 points, 11 rebounds, 14 assists, his 3rd career triple-double. He also tied a career high in assists in this game. In his other 2 triple-doubles, one came in March of 2022, the other came in March of 2023, and now March of 2025. So apparently he likes the month of March just like everybody else. So good for him. Sims had 10 points, 8 boards, 5 of 5 from the field. He is not going to shoot anything that is not within literal inches of the rim.
He's going to be in the restricted circle, and that's it.
That is where he goes because he jumps very high.
Yeah.
Bucks 7-1 in the 8 games since Bobby Portis suspension. They were 2-5 in the previous 7 games this year. So that's a big shout out to them. The bench doing their thing in this one. The starters doing their thing in this one. And like Tyler said, yes, we understand that the Mavericks are depleted. It does not matter because what I took away from this game is the Bucks did a really nice job on offense, creating open looks for others and trusting each other. And that's a topic of conversation that's going to come in handy later when we talk about some later games.
And on that point, the Bucks were 16 of 35 on threes. That's 45.7%. That's brilliant. Do that every single game, and the Bucks are going to win a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Dame started 4 for 4, finished 5 of 8. Kuzma made both of his threes. You already mentioned AJ Green shooting. The other thing in a game like this is the Bucks had 17 turnovers. They got a little sloppy to start, and they allowed 25 points off turnovers. And the pessimistic perspective of that is, oh my God, you were playing a Mavericks team that had a bunch of guys hurt. How do you give up 25 points off turnovers? And the logical, calm person answer to that is they were winning this game by 20 to 30 points for almost the entirety of it. They were not contesting a lot of shots in transition and shots that they would contest in a tight game. They were kind of conceding some shots while they were up with a gigantic lead, so I'm not going to freak out about it. So, that said, Steve said it's the NBA. Any game outcome is possible. That is true because the Bucks lost the next 3 games after destroying the Mavericks, and then they lost the next 3. 2 of them were on back-to-backs, which is the Magic game that we're going to talk about now, and the Cavs game. And then the Pacers game that they lost last night. The Magic and Pacers games they lost were a combined 3 points. And I understand that losses count as losses because I say the same thing when the opposite happens, that wins count as wins. The other thing that I say all the time, there's no back-to-backs in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So just going to run through some of this stuff on the Magic game. Bucks were 11 of 23 on threes. It's 47.8%. The Magic are a good defending team. That they kept the Bucks off the three-point line for a chunk of this game. That's why they only took 23 threes. 12 turnovers isn't bad. 21 points off turnovers is bad. The Magic were very efficient in that aspect. the other thing that I'm going to say on the team as a whole is the ball movement needs to improve. They only had 17 assists on 41 made field goals. That is something they can improve going forward.
That's too low.
And they did during points of both of the last two games. Now, I want you to give your thoughts and your takeaways from this, and then I want to talk about strictly the end part of this game as it pertains to Sunday.
Okay, yeah, I have some thoughts on the end too, so that'll be a good conversation topic for us. So first thing I'm going to point out here is the bench getting outscored 26-14 versus the Magic bench.
Yeah.
I just gave credit to the bench against the Mavericks where they played lights out. You come into this Magic game, and the starters are giving you 95 of your 109 points, and you score 14. And this is one where Gary Trent Jr. didn't play. He missed this game. So you really need a guy like AJ Green. He only took 3 shots. I'm not saying he was terrible, but he only took 3 shots in this game. Sims only got 1 look at the rim. Kevin Porter Jr. was good, but really that was one little stretch where he was kind of kicking some ass a little bit there. But outside of that, there was really nothing from the bench. This is one where I came away where I just gave that stat about Bobby, and the reason I did that is because I feel like if the Bucks had Bobby, they win this game. Because Bobby Portis is going to shoot the ball, he's going to be aggressive, and he's going to go to the rim and force the issue. So the bench scoring is not going to be as much of a problem. I'm really, really interested to see how Kevin Porter Jr. and Bobby play. I think that's going to be really nice. Kevin Porter Jr. has shown himself to be a underrated playmaker. Did not think that he had that in his game. Yep. And Bobby Portis is smart enough to understand where to go, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So I think that's going to be a really nice duo when Bobby does come back. And we're getting close to that now too. Yeah. We're a bunch of games into it now at this point. So that's inching up. That means the playoffs are getting closer. I believe yesterday they said that we're about a month away, a month left of the season. So playoffs are coming. The thing that I really wanted to point out is people talking about Dame. Dame had a good game. He had 26, 7 to 4, and Giannis had 37. So really, the rest of the starters, Kuz didn't really have that good of a game. And Taurean Prince did have a good game because of the last little bit of the fourth quarter. But before that, he wasn't really having much of an impact. But he did end up having a pretty decent game because he had a flurry of 3-pointers. But let's get into this end of the game because I have some thoughts.
Yeah. So a few things. First, Steve, he can practice and he can be at the arena until it's 90 minutes before game time or something, and then he has to leave. So you'll see a couple videos here and there of him at the arena getting shots up. So he's staying in shape and stuff. He just can't be at the games. So firstly, Damian Lillard is here to take 3-pointers. He's here to shoot game-winning shots. He was 4 for 8 already at this point in the game. With the Bucks down 2 points, and he made some threes already that were super tough. Like the one that he made on the right-hand wing, as he's off the dribble, fading away, super tough shots.
Mm-hmm.
That is already point 1. Point 2. Hindsight is not a reason for him to not shoot the shot. Please put a pin in that for last night's game. Hindsight is not a reason to not make a decision. Sure, you can play for a 2. First things first, you'd be going into overtime, who on a team, you're playing a team on this night, countered all of the Bucks' runs and had a pretty good night shooting the ball.
Yeah, we did.
Now, I don't hate in this scenario taking a kill shot over playing for the tie. Putting the ball in Giannis's hands is never a bad option. Something I saw people saying is, why isn't Giannis taking the last shot? Why aren't we giving the ball to Giannis? Never a bad option to put the ball in Giannis's hand. But again, you're playing for a tie. Giannis is not going to give you a win in that situation unless he gets fouled and it gets an and 1, which is a possibility. But again, the possibility of Giannis getting an and 1, the amount of times that he touches the ball and gets and ones is probably lower than Damian Lillard's 3-point percentage. I'd be willing to bet that.
That's pretty close. Yeah, that's a good one.
So that's that. Now, we've been talking over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Giannis's free throw shooting, he's pretty good. He's around 70%.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, even if Giannis gets fouled, you are then banking on Giannis to make 2 free throws, which I'm not saying he can't do. We've seen him do it in the finals on the biggest stage. I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm.
We have also seen this season Giannis miss a game-winning shot against the Hornets. Also, again, Dame is here to take game winners. Giannis will tell you that himself. Dame is here to take game-winning shots. That's the thing there. Free throws. And my biggest sticking point on the end of this game, taking a 3 instead of a 2, is do you really want to go into overtime on the first night of a back-to-back when you play the team with the best record in the NBA the next day? The answer is a pretty easy no. Obviously, if this is the playoffs, much different story. But it's regular season, you try to steal a win and move on to the next day. That's it. I don't know if you have the same thought or if you have the opposite side of the coin viewpoint.
So I just wanted to make a point of
nobody complains about it.
I'm going to make a point that I think you're going to agree with. So at the start of the fourth quarter, the score was 90-76. You get to the 8-11 mark. They were running a collection, a set where Giannis was at the 5. And what happened when Giannis was at the 5? He didn't box out Goga. Got the score to 97-82 with 8:11 left. From 8:04 to 6:22. Now they did bring Brook Lopez back in. I'm just going to tell you right now.
Yep.
Giannis got 2 free throws, a layup, and that's when Taurean Prince hit 3 3-pointers.
Yep.
Got the game to 97-95.
Yep.
That was with Giannis at his true position.
Thank you. I do agree with you. If that's the point you were thinking, I was going to agree with you on.
That is the point I was going to make.
Yep.
So then, after that, like you said, I'm going to prove you right again. The Magic were countering every single run because from the 6:22 mark, after Giannis made a layup, to the 3:31 mark, the Bucks only manufactured 2 free throws for Kuzma. That was the only scoring they did in that 3-minute barrage.
Yeah.
Then Giannis got a layup to break that up, and the score went from 97-95 to 104-97. After that, the Bucks had one more run in them.
Yep.
Giannis made a layup. Dame made a 3-pointer. Giannis got an and one. And then, obviously, we forced a turnover at the end there. So you're talking from the 6:22 mark to the end of the game. If I hear one more goddamn person say to take Taurean Prince out of the starting lineup, I swear to God I'm going to lose it.
You know what? We're doing this. I'm just going to pull it up.
He was awesome the last 7 minutes of this game.
Yep.
Played defense, played offense, playmaking. He had a couple assists in there too. The layup of the last barrage that I talked about was assisted by Taurean Prince. He was awesome. So I don't want to hear about that anymore, okay? We're not talking about that no more. If you have a brain, Taurean Prince is in the starting 5. And I heard people talking about Gary Trent Jr., which we tried that already, by the way. If you're new to this season of 2024-2025 Milwaukee Bucks, we tried that already and it didn't work. So Taurean Prince is staying in the starting lineup. Gary Trent's been doing his thing on the bench with KPJ, with Sims and them boys. We're leaving him there. Okay? Thank you.
Okay. Here it is, right here. Putting it on the screen so everybody can see exactly why Taurean Prince is in the lineup when he's in the lineup. See that right there? That thing right here where this is sorted by 3-point percentage, and you see that guy that's second place in the entire NBA that has a mil under his team name? That's Taurean Prince. He's going to be on the floor in clutch time.
Yeah.
He is 0.1% away from being tied for the best 3-point shooter in the NBA this season.
Yeah. He's not coming off the floor.
You're telling me you're going to take a guy who's 45% on 3-pointers off the floor?
And he's been doing a really nice job putting the ball on the floor, getting to the rim.
And we've talked about him like two of the last 3 or 4 shows. He's been underrated as a passer too.
Yeah, he's been throwing lobs. He does play defense. People are like, his defense is bad. Bro, nobody stays in front of everybody consistently in the NBA anymore. It's too spaced out. People are too quick.
And they still are going to continue putting him on the other team's best player. He was guarding fucking Trae Young last week.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on Halliburton for a while last night.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to get into that. Let's run through this Cavs game real quick, man.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about the Cavs game from Sunday. This ended up being the second of the back-to-back. They played that tough game with the Magic. They used the starters a little bit longer, because they were trying to make the comeback. If they could have stolen the win, they probably hold Damon Giannis out of this game, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's why I'm on board with taking that 3 at the end. But I said to you, I'm like, if they don't get this game within like 10 points, in the first couple minutes of the fourth quarter, I would just pull the starters and just concede and then worry about the next game. But they did. They made the comeback in the Magic game, and they gave it a shot. You get to Sunday's game, and I will say here, the ball movement was better. It didn't quite show up in the stat sheet. That 17 assists on 39 field goals is still low, but in my opinion, the ball movement was better, and guys just weren't hitting their shots this day. And the 3-point numbers go to show it. They were 2 for 7 to start. They finished 9 for 31. That's 29%. Legs. It's the second of a back-to-back. That's all of the legs. In my mind, this is, and you can tell me if you agree with this. I don't think you're going to disagree. When those types of games are happening, this is again specifically the second of a back-to-back. When the ball movement is there and the open shots aren't being knocked down, in my mind, I see Giannis and Dame playing a little bit more isolation, just because they're seeing that the looks that they're generating aren't resulting in finished possessions, and they, as alphas, we have 2 of them, we have 2 alphas, take it upon themselves to go get a bucket.
Yep.
And to a degree, I don't want to go to like a Kobe Bryant level of ball hogging, but to a degree, you want your best players to have that mindset. You want them to have the mentality of, okay, my team is struggling. Let me go get us a bucket.
Yeah.
I want Dame and Giannis to have that attitude. So I do understand that you don't want to play a bunch of isolation-heavy basketball, but I also understand from the star player mindset of wanting to be the guy to go get the bucket. Now, yes, the Cavs swept the Bucks. 2 of them were the first 2 games of November. The Bucks were 2-6 after those games, or 1-6 after those 2 games. And the third game they played against the Cavaliers was December 20th. So we've played 1 game against them with our new rotations and lineups and players. Yeah. So I'm not putting a ton of stock into that. Yeah. The Bucks did struggle. The bench, 8 of 23. If you take out Ryan Rollins, Chris Livingston, and Tyler Smith, who played the last 3 minutes of the game, the bench was 3 for 16 and 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. Bench really struggled. GTJ was 1 for 9 from the field in his first game back, 1 for 4 from the 3-point line. Again, back-to-backs don't happen in the playoffs, and this was Gary Trent Jr.'s first game back from his injury. So I'm not putting a ton of stock into it. Now, my last thing is there were still a couple of occasional bright spots in this game on both sides of the ball. The Bucks out-rebounded the Cavs 50-44. 15 of them were offensive rebounds. They did only convert 16 second chance points, though. The Cavaliers had 13 offensive rebounds, but 17 second chance points. Just need the Bucks to be a little bit more efficient. But they did out-rebound the ball, out-rebound the Cavs. And then defensively, the Cavs were 5 of 14 from the floor against Giannis and 6 of 16 from the floor versus Damian Lillard. All-star Darius Garland, when guarded by Damian Lillard, was 1 for 5 from the field. You can take this Dame doesn't play defense nonsense and just toss it up. He's not an all-NBA defender, but he's not a fucking traffic cone.
Yeah, he's a capable defender.
He's applying himself defensively.
I agree.
Something that, like, I think the reputation that he got for not being a defender was in Portland when he was the entire offense.
Mm-hmm.
He's on a contender now. He's applying himself defensively.
He gets to save a little bit of his energy on offense because Giannis can take over, and then he gets to play a little bit of defense. So
yeah,
I agree with that.
Go ahead.
All right. So first things first, I'm just going to give the Cavs their flowers. They are a tremendously well-coached team, top to bottom. I'm going to give you credit as you were the one that wanted this head coach. Just saying. Our GM also wanted this head coach.
I think he was like third on my list, but my number one is in Brooklyn. That's the guy that I wanted, Jordy Fernandez. But Kenny Atkinson was on my list.
He was on your list. I saw a rumor today, not sure if it's true, just going to throw it out there. I saw that John Horst got blocked twice from Kenny Atkinson being the head coach.
When he was
I don't know how much truth is to that. You could take that for what you will as you see the Cavs are a freaking machine this year. Top to bottom, they have a really, really nice system, and everybody knows how to run it, and they know their spot. They understand their responsibility, and they just do it. So good on them. Also going to touch base on your point of Giannis and Dame being alphas. Now, we see this quite a bit, and I think that it could be a little bit detrimental at times where I thought when Giannis was creating such good looks, and this is where I think that Doc Rivers was going with his comments about trusting his teammates. He did talk about it after the game, which is why I said it earlier. The reason that I say that is there was times where Giannis was guarded by 3-4 people at one time, and he could have just kicked it out. And I understand. Now, he's Giannis. And if you think you're competitive, I promise you are not as competitive as these professional athletes. I promise. I'm a very competitive person, but I promise you I'm not as competitive as Giannis.
Dude, the I can't even imagine it. Like, my competitiveness to like people that I know are competitive in the league that I play in, compared to an NBA player, is probably how regular NBA players are to Giannis.
Yeah, I mean it's
he is in a league of his own when it comes to stuff like that.
It's not even close. These guys literally they eat and sleep this stuff. Giannis is one of the hardest workers in like NBA history, like overall, looking at his growth. Yeah. So you want to talk about competitive fire and coming from where he's from, that none of that happens unless you're hungry and you look to eat every single day. So I do think that sometimes it could be detrimental, and he does have to trust his teammates a little bit more. Kick that out for 3. If they miss it, man. But at the end of the day, people are going to watch the film. The film's not going to lie. They're going to see that you were trying to get guys going. And if you get guys going, that's going to make your job a little bit easier. So I know that Giannis knows that, but just kind of saying it out loud for other people to kind of understand what they're looking at, right? When we did start this show originally, we were talking about teaching people. So wanted to just throw that out there to let people know what they're looking at.
Sure,
Same thing with Dame.
10 minutes talking X's and O's with college basketball for a while.
I know. That was a good
Hopefully people got something out of that.
I really hope so too. We can, I mean, I would love to, we talk about this all the time. I would literally love for this to just be the day job. There's so many ideas that like I think about at work, and I write it down on a little paper, and then I leave work and I'm like, I don't have time to do that, blah, blah, blah. I have to do all this other stuff. I would love to do more, honest to God. But the bench in this one too got outscored. The Cavs bench had 43 points. The Bucks bench had 21. In the last 2 games, you talk about the back-to-back, the bench got outscored 69-28. And this is the first time in my life I think I don't like the number 69 right now. 69-28 is a hard pill to swallow right now when you're talking about 2 losses, and you're talking about one of them being by 2 points.
Yeah.
And like even this Cavs game, as the lead got ballooned up to 18, 19, 20 points a few times, it just always felt like the Bucks were one run away from really being in the thing.
Yeah.
Especially in the second and third quarters when there was some lulls in the game. It really felt like if the Bucks could have went on like one of those like 15-3 or 15-5 runs, that this would have been a crazy, crazy game.
They had it down to 5 in the fourth quarter, and then the Cavs made like 3 straight threes, and it was right back to 14.
And in the freaking first half, freaking Max Strus couldn't miss. I'm like,
it's like, oh, good, they got rid of Georges Niang, but before he left, he gave him the kill the Bucks card. Like, cool, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Strus was doing that on Miami already, so I mean, it is what it is. It sucks that he's in our division now, but these are some of those games that you can take positive things from. Giannis played good, Dame played good, and at times I felt like the starting five, I agree with you. I felt like they were generating better shots than they were in the Magic game. And then we fast forward to the Pacers game, right?
Yep.
So let's get into it, man.
I want to talk about a few things, just the
Go
game
ahead.
itself, and then we'll talk about the ending again.
Yep.
The Bucks were 14 to 36 from the 3-point line, 38.9%. Taurean Prince was off to a great start. I think he made his first 3 threes. He finished 4 for 8, 50%. Brooke was 2 for 4, that's 50%. Gary Trent Jr. was 3 for 6, that's 50%. Got a bunch of guys making threes. 15 turnovers is a little high. The Pacers are literally a team who plays by their namesake. They want to run. They want to play fast. They have a lot of young guys. That's how they want to play. So I'm not super mad at 15 turnovers. I'd like it to be like 13 or lower, but 15 isn't crazy. And the thing is, with that, there is no individual on the Bucks who had more than 3 turnovers.
Okay.
So it's not like one of those games where, Giannis had 7 or Chris had 6 turnovers or Dame had 5 turnovers. It's not anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
They were spread out, and it's going to be the thing too. You look at the other side of the coin and be like, oh, everybody had 3 turnovers. It just nobody had a super turnover prone game. Just take it at that, move on. The Pacers did turn those turnovers into 23 points off of turnovers. That is high efficiency from them. That's the kind of thing you have to try to correct more than not moving the ball because you're afraid of making a turnover. You just have to apply your defensive strategy. Not strategy isn't the right word, but your defensive effort to not allow your opponents to score off of them as frequently. Now, this game had 21 lead changes. That is an insane amount of lead changes for a basketball game.
Yeah, it is.
So this was a very tightly contested game. Give me your thoughts, and then let's talk about the ending.
Okay. First of all, Pacers are still front runners. Okay. Halliburton might be front runner of the century, dude. Seriously.
Especially when they're in their building.
Yeah. He is front runner of the century. Like, if you're gonna do the Dame time, do that thing loud. Don't be hiding it. Wait until after the final buzzer when Giannis misses a 3. If you're gonna do the thing, do the thing.
Yeah.
Okay? Stand on business. Sick and tired.
And do it when you lose too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you made a crazy shot. I mean, I saw the numbers today. That was the 5th time that shot has ever happened in the history of the game. 5th time ever. You know how many of those have been attempted? My God.
I don't want to know.
The percentage on that would be insanity.
Yeah.
Now let's talk ball. Okay. So you said Taurean Prince, great game. Yes. He was shooting a 3-ball good, and he was getting into the teeth of the defense and finishing. Also trying to pass the ball. So he did a tremendous job. Brook Lopez was phenomenal in this game. 5 for 5 in the 4th quarter, 11 points. He ended with 23 points and 7 rebounds. Also protecting the rim.
He's not going to average that. We got to get that out of the way. He's not going to average 23 and 7 at 35 years old.
No.
Just need to get that out of the way. He's good. He's capable of having these games like this.
Yeah.
He's not going to average this. His usage is not going to be that high every game. Please get that through your heads, people. He's not going to average 23 and 7.
Yeah.
It's going to happen once in a while, though.
I do want to give him credit, though. He was doing a really nice job with that push shot. He had great touch in the 4th quarter. It went from about 15 feet. I was like, whoa, it was all net.
He was doing it against their zone, too. He was getting catches at the elbow.
Yeah. Giannis,
they were all sinking down to keep Giannis away from the rim. And Brooks like, okay.
Yeah.
I'll take floaters.
Yeah, he did a tremendous job. Gotta talk about Kevin Porter Jr., dude. What a tough game for him, honestly.
Yeah.
Just getting whacked in the chin, whacked in the jaw, freaking smacked in the eye. I'm like, dog.
And every time it happened, he got called for a foul.
Yeah, I'm like, Doc, take this guy out, dude. Protect him from himself, because Jesus, Neesmith was trying to take him out, or was it? No, it was Matherin. I'm sorry.
Matherin, yeah.
Matherin was one that hit him twice. And he did get called for 2 fouls. Want to give credit to Dame and AJ Green. I texted you this last night. I thought the 2-man game between Dame and AJ Green was beautiful. Yeah. They generated a lot of open looks. And this was to get Dame going, really, because Dame was struggling to shoot. We lost this game by 1 point, and Dame went 4 for 14. He had 11 assists. He was doing a nice job passing the ball, dropping it off to Giannis a few times. But I'm telling you, man, Dame, if Dame plays his regular game, the Bucks win this game by 10.
Sure.
That percentage-wise, getting to the free throw line, finishing, I mean, everything really felt like the Bucks were going to steal this one on the road. Everything that happened in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Now I got two things I want to talk about. Points off turnovers. Indiana had 23. The Bucks had 12. I know you talked about the 15 turnovers not being too much, but for the Bucks to generate 12 points off 10 turnovers is pretty good, in my opinion. That's pretty good. Now, fast break points. Indiana had 31. Milwaukee had 3.
Yikes.
That is the area of the team.
But hey, Brook Lopez had 7 rebounds.
He did. He did it. Did have 7 rebounds. But that is the area of the team where Kuzma and getting younger was supposed to help, was the fast break, not just offense, but defense. To Indiana's credit, like you said.
Layups too.
It will. Indiana does like to run. They like to push the pace, and they like to force the issue. The Bucks just got to get back. Now, you want to talk about shooting percentages. Indiana shot 33% from 3, and they had a lot of wide-open looks, just like the Bucks did.
Yeah.
The Bucks cashed in more than Indiana did.
I feel free to let Thomas Bryant shoot as many threes as he wants.
I mean, yeah, I know he's shooting a good percentage, but if I have to choose between Thomas Bryant shooting the ball or one of their guards like O'Connell
or Miles Turner for that matter,
I mean,
or Siakam or Nembhard or
Siakam for sure, dude. Let Siakam shoot threes. I don't want him getting anywhere near the paint. He's so crafty in the paint. He's such a good finisher. He is a little dirty in my opinion, but
he can be. I don't know that overall he is, but
all the little extra stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I watched the game a little close. You know, me and you, we get very observant with our stuff. Yeah. He's chucking people every time they pass. I'm like, I understand the professionalism of that. Yeah. And like that's a little bit of gamemanship. I get that, but like at the same time, it's like, God damn, dog. I thought a couple times Giannis was getting abused and they didn't call nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, what are we talking about?
That happened, I think, in the Magic game too, where there was stuff in the fourth quarter that I thought could have been called for fouls, but wasn't.
Oh, dude, I wasn't going to bring up the stuff in the Magic game, the stuff that you know they were doing, but it was one of the Wagner brothers was doing. But I was like, yo, bro, and I'm glad Taurean Prince stood up for Giannis, by the way.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about the end of the game now. Yeah. Okay. Firstly, yes, it sucks, and I have been mass leaving public groups on Facebook because I'm tired of seeing emotional posts by people who would rather post their emotions than learn about sports. Mm-hmm. The thing about the ending of this game sucking is that the more you dwell on it, the longer it's going to suck.
Yeah.
And you can apply that to just about anything in your life. Obviously, certain things you're going to want to dwell on, like if a loved one passes, you're going to want to think about that a little bit more. But when it's something like a loss in a sporting event, you can just move on from that. Nothing's going to change about it. Nothing's going to be different. The longer you think about it, the more it's going to bother you.
Yeah.
Now, we talk about these specific parts of the game. How did you feel about Doc challenging the foul call? Andrew said #never forget. How did you feel about the challenge at the end of the game?
This feels like a double-edged sword.
It absolutely is a double-edged sword. Absolutely is.
So I don't hate it as much as other people. First of all, I didn't think that the landing zone moved with you when you get to fade and go horizontal.
When you're fading so far that you're almost fucking horizontal, like you're jumping into bed for a nap.
Yeah.
No, don't give me that landing zone shit.
And then
straight up and down.
I agree. It should almost be the same thing as like the verticality rule, right?
The cylinder, yes.
It should be like that.
Yep.
Then on top of that, Halliburton literally traveled.
Yeah.
He literally grabbed the ball and took 3 steps without dribbling.
Yep.
You get the gather step and then you get 2 steps, but you don't get 3 steps
You don't get a
dribble.
gather when you're not dribbling.
I don't understand how that wasn't called. I understand that it would have taken away like a crazy highlight for the NBA, but like, dude, he traveled. And then
Also,
I don't know if
see where
I haven't seen anybody else say that, by the way. Has anybody else said that?
the travel thing?
Yeah.
Not really. Again, I've taken myself out of the court of public opinion, so I don't see the public's opinions on things anymore because I'm just gonna stick with my own perception.
Yeah.
The other thing is we were talking about this game last night. You and I both agreed that there was no foul there.
Dude, he didn't even touch him.
He literally didn't touch him.
Yeah.
He was gonna fall down whether he made that shot or not.
Yeah.
Because he was gonna try to bait into a foul anyways.
Yeah.
So I don't blame Doc for challenging that, because if that gets overturned, you have a tie game.
True. Well, and then on top of that, people talking about the foul. Now, here's how I feel about it. Indiana was on the second half of a back-to-back. If you're not going to foul on the catch, which we had no chance because he literally walked with the ball, and the guy that was originally kind of guarding him, there was kind of a miscommunication there.
Doc said that after the game too, that they misplayed that last play because they've seen Indiana run it. That's why he didn't call the timeout before that, because they've seen that play run, and he didn't throw guys under the bus, but he said they didn't execute it the way that they prepared it.
Yeah. So if I'm Giannis, and I'm not advocating for injuring somebody, but if he's going to shoot that shot, you run his ass over, make sure he doesn't get the shot off.
Make him shoot all 3 free throws.
Yeah, that's like you're on the second half of a back-to-back. You have to make 3 free throws after getting knocked down.
Or just wrap them up.
Yeah.
Tim, welcome back. Talking about the end of the Bucks game last night. Okay, so here's the thing, is because, like I just said with the Magic game, hindsight does not give you a reason to not do something.
Yeah.
Doc not winning the challenge is not in and of itself a reason to not make the challenge.
Right.
All other things aside, the outcome that you didn't want to happening is not a reason to not try in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how life works. That's not how sports work. You don't get to look at it after the fact and be like, he shouldn't have done that because it resulted in this. Because when you are in the position to make a decision, you don't know the outcome.
Yeah.
Therefore, you cannot use the outcome as a reason to not make the decision. Do you understand how that works? You can't use the future as a reason to not make a decision in the past. You can use the entirety of your experience to make a decision that's going to affect your future. But you don't know what's going to happen. Knowing what happens after the fact is not a reason to say that you should have done this or done that. That's not how it works. Now, my thought on this is, if you can take a point off the board and have a 113 game with 3.4 seconds left and still a shot to make a game winner, or at worst go into overtime, that to me is a bigger benefit than having a timeout to advance the ball into the front court and play from a point down halfway closer to the basket.
Yeah. I try to tell my own wife that, bro.
Hey, if you make stupid decisions, that's on you. But I mean, if it's a 50-50 call and it doesn't work out, I'll stand by you. But if it's open to interpretation, trading your house payment for magic beans, I don't think is one that I would give you the benefit of the doubt on.
Yeah, I agree.
But if you're going to disagree with that point that I just made, that taking a point off the board isn't as beneficial as moving the ball to half court, yeah, you're welcome, Andrew. The reason that you're disagreeing is because you're making the assumption that being at half court is going to make the game-winning shot go in.
Yeah.
Because if you're at half court and down by a point, you still have to make the game-winning shot, which we just talked about in the Magic game. Dame missed one, and I brought up the previous that Giannis missed one against the Hornets. So there's no guarantee that you're making the game-winning shot. Now, I understand that you can get a potentially a better look at a game-winning shot, but you are still down by a point. Where if you make it, you win. If you miss it, you lose. In my mind, having the opportunity to be a tie game where the worst-case scenario is overtime, not a loss, that is the outcome that I would rather have a chance at.
Yeah.
I would rather have a chance at a tie game as the worst-case scenario than a loss.
Agreed.
So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that part of it.
No, I mean, if you are weighing your options, and obviously he has other people around him that are weighing the options,
and you have like 15 seconds to weigh them.
That's the correct decision if you look at it that way. Now, people are all complaining because we could have had a timeout, and God, I always have to call him up. But Nathan Marzon, he was going crazy last night talking about the Bucks deserve to lose. They deserve this. They didn't stand a chance. They played bad defense. They didn't do. I'm like, bro, they played good defense too. The Pacers are a good offensive team, bro. They score on everybody. Never wants to give credit to Brook. Didn't even bring up Brook being 5 for 5 in the fourth quarter. You know what? Instead of giving credit to Brook, you know what he categorized it as? Is Giannis took one shot in the fourth quarter and Dame took 2 shots in the fourth quarter. Don't want to talk about them resting for damn near half the damn quarter. Giannis didn't come until the 7 or 8 minute mark?
Something like that.
And then on top of that, every time Giannis touched the damn ball, there was 2 or 3 Pacers around him. You want him to just shoot it?
Yep, fuck it, send it.
I mean, he's made shots like that before, yes. But the smarter play is for him to drop it off to Brook Lopez to make a shot.
Which he did.
And Brook Lopez was paying him off.
Yeah.
I'm so sick and tired of these influencers with tons of followers for no goddamn reason talking like this, and then the rest of the fan base follows.
Yeah. Well,
okay,
listen, we've had the conversation. We've thrown out the phrase that misery loves company. Yeah. It's a subconscious thing that the part of your brain that is addicted to conflict wants more. So if somebody is presenting that to you, it's like, oh yeah, this is good. More conflict. Cool. Because people identify with that conflict as their sense of identity.
Yeah.
You can separate yourself from that. That is something that, Jake and I didn't know that that's what we were doing over the last 3 years, but we've gotten really good at is separating ourselves from identifying with what I'll just call pain, because that's the word that is most commonly used, is not identifying with the pain. That makes responding to losses a lot easier.
Yeah, so there's this weird thing where I wake up the next day after a loss and then I don't think about it, and then my day's still good because I choose to be happy and not let a sports team determine if I'm happy or not. And do I like winning? Absolutely. I would have preferred to win all the damn games, but that's just not reality, and I don't live in fucking La La Land.
Yeah, and it's not even the first time in NBA history that a 4-point play to win the games happened. It's obvious happen often, but we've had this conversation too. When the amount of games that are happening, you're talking about 30 teams playing 82 times. You're talking 240 basketball games.
Yeah.
Anything that can happen is eventually going to happen.
I mean, we have a guy on our team that has done exactly that. Win a game with a 4-point play.
I mean, we've had the MVP conversation a bunch of times too, but Jokic literally just the other day did something that's never been done before.
Yeah.
Until now.
Yep.
Every possible outcome that can happen is going to happen eventually.
Agreed.
So what I just want to say is that the ending happening the way that it did, the Bucks, eventually losing, there are still positive takeaways from the way the game ended. Because just because the Bucks lost, that does not take away the fact that Brook Lopez had 11 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It does not take away the fact that Gary Trent Jr. made a super clutch three-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
The end result doesn't take that away, because in that moment, that was a super clutch three for Gary Trent Jr. to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when the Bucks were, was it up? They were up 1, I think. It was like 113, 112 or something like that. And the Bucks needed to make an inbound, and the Pacers were going to follow right away with like 6 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
The inbounds play that Doc Rivers drew up was brilliant. It was brilliant. To have everybody in the front court, having Dame run to the backcourt and having Taurean Prince toss it away from the Bucks basket and him run away from TJ McConnell to take 3 seconds off the clock, that was a brilliant inbound play.
Yeah.
The Bucks losing does not take that away from them.
No.
And Damian Lillard making those 2 clutch free throws. The final result does not take away those things from being true. All of those things are still true.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Trent made a clutch 3. Dame made clutch free throws. Doc drew up a smart inbound play. Brooke Lopez had a great fourth quarter. All of those things are still true, regardless of the end result in the W or L column.
Yep.
Just like if the Bucks win and, Dame goes 2 for 7 from the 3-point line, that's still true, even though the Bucks won.
Yeah.
It's just the Pacers were able to overcome the Bucks doing those things to win. If the Bucks have a bad shooting game and they still manage to win, that's them overcoming a bad output of some sort to still be able to win games, which is something that we highlight when we see it.
Great.
So again, this thankfully wasn't a playoff game.
Yeah.
And the Bucks will live to play another day. The Bucks are still closer to the 3 seed than the Knicks are to the 2 seed. So just want to throw that out there. The Bucks at the 4 seed are 5 games away from the Knicks. The Knicks are 5.5 games away from the Celtics. So the Knicks are closer to being the 4 seed than they are to being the 2 seed. Just throwing that out there. The Bucks play tomorrow against the Lakers. They have a rematch against the Pacers on Saturday, and they play the Thunder on Sunday. So they get to play the second best team in the NBA on a back-to-back on another Sunday. So cool. Thanks, NBA. Love that. Your scheduling sucks. And then Tuesday, they start a West Coast road trip that starts with Golden State. So those are the 4 games that we will have next week. Is there anything else you want to say on the Bucks?
Really, I'm hoping in these next, couple games they can, they need to win the next 2, in my opinion, gain a little bit of momentum. If they lose that Thunder game, it will be nice that they're at home. If they lose that Thunder game, it is what it is. Then hopefully 3-1 week is really would help shape up how the playoffs look. Got to get this next one against the Pacers. Got to give them a little get back.
Yep.
Lakers are kind of limping without LeBron. It's crazy that the best player on that team is still 40 years old, dude. That's absolutely insane to me.
Yeah.
I mean, Luka's still Luka. He can still make some amazing shots, but he's actually been really inefficient since going over there. The Thunder, I hate that we have to play the Thunder on a back-to-back twice this year. It is what it is. Obviously, we saw what happened when we played them. When we didn't have to play them on a back-to-back. We smacked that ass.
Well, I mean, yeah, and
then the Warriors, of course, we play the Warriors.
Like 3 guys, and they won by 25.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we play the Warriors when they start getting on fire. But it's time to ramp up for the playoffs.
Hey, they got to play the Bucks coming off of a pretty strong stretch at the trade deadline. So
that's fair.
They're still what, 8-3 since the deadline?
Yeah,
8-4 now.
Yeah,
I think since the deadline. So that's a 667 win percentage. So got that going for us. Yeah. Other than that, definitely stay tuned. Looking at our page, we are posting more and more Brewers content again, as we are about 2 weeks away from opening day. So keep an eye out for that. Lots of stat projection thoughts coming out over the next couple of weeks, and then some other stuff that we're working on behind the scenes as well. Other than that, I will see you next week with some more basketball, and we are this close to baseball season. So we're gonna have Brewer games coming up soon. So what else you got?
We will also be starting our NFL draft series next Tuesday. So if you're into the NFL draft, if you're a draft nerd, you like all the deep dive stuff, we're starting with wide receivers starting on Tuesday. So we start with something exciting to get you guys going a little bit.
Yeah, and then we're going to dull down the excitement real big in the following week of the offensive line. I'm so ready done watching offensive linemen.
Yeah.
All right. So join us on Tuesday night, and then we'll see you again next Wednesday. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.